Hello! At this video, we are going to install the necessary software components for this series and set up an empty C project. We're going to install two pieces of software, an Eclipse-based IDE, like the STM32Cube IDE, and MinGW GNU for Windows. And this will allow us to compile, run, and debug our code directly on PC without the need for an external target device, like an STM MCU. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to download an IDE. IDE is very convenient. It allows us to write our code, build, run, and debug all in the same app without the need to do any complex command line operations and things like that. And for this series, I'm going to use Eclipse IDE, this particular one, and this one is one of the most common IDEs out there, and it's an open source. So you can either get the raw Eclipse IDE and download it directly from this page, or you can get the STM-Cube IDE. They both work the same. That's because STM-Cube IDE is based on Eclipse, meaning that it was originally developed using the Eclipse IDE as a base, and they've added some additional feature, mostly high-level things like the ability to select STM MCUs and to launch CubeMX and things like that. But the base functionalities are all the same, especially C programming related things like adding a toolchain, adding a file path, and mostly all the front end things are very identical. Okay, so I'm gonna go and get the STM-Cube IDE because I happen to use STM32 MCUs quite a lot, and most likely in my coming tutorials, in my coming series, I'm gonna introduce STM hardware. So I'm just gonna go and get the STM-Cube IDE. If you're someone who doesn't use STM, you can just simply download the normal Eclipse IDE. It will also work pretty much the same. So first thing first, click on Get Software, and obviously you want to navigate to this page, and it's as simple as typing STM32Cube IDE in Google, and it's going to bring you to this page. So click on Get Software, and that's normally will bring you down to this list, and based on your operating system, if you're using Linux, Mac, or any others, I'm obviously using Windows, so I'm going to click on the Windows installer and I'll get the latest. Okay, so this ideally will bring a window, a dialog window where it will ask you for your email and name, and it's going to send you a direct download link. Because I've already done that, it's just going to ask me to accept the license agreement, and then I'll be able to download the IDE. So most likely it will be from clicking this direct download link that they're going to send you on your email. So when I click on this, wait for a few seconds, I think it should directly start downloading the IDE. Okay, so that brings me back to the page. I think I just need to wait a bit. I'll click on Get Software. And back again to this list. Well, it's already started the download because of the direct link that they sent me. There we go. Now, I've already downloaded this zip file, so I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to begin with my downloads file, where I've already got the zip file and I've uncompressed it. So open this executable STM32Cube IDE, and this should bring up the admin permission window. Maybe you won't be able to see it in my recording, but I'll click yes. And now I can see the IDE installer dialog. So I'm going to hit next. Obviously, I want to agree to the license agreement. And now you need to select a destination for your IDE to install. I'm happy with this default destination, so I'm gonna just click next. Now it's gonna ask you to install some additional components, the SIGAR J-Link and the ST-Link drivers. I don't use SIGAR J-Link, so I'm gonna ignore this and continue with the ST-Link drivers. And now I'm just gonna click on install. And this one's gonna take about a few minutes apparently. So I'm just gonna pause the video right here and wait for any installation milestone to complete. All right, installation complete successfully. So click on next. Yes, I'd like to create a desktop shortcut. So click on finish. And I believe this one's gonna launch the Cube IDE. So I'm just gonna wait for a few seconds. If it didn't come up, I'm gonna open it manually. So I'm gonna open the Cube IDE now. So it's launching. I believe it's gonna ask me for some first time things. So exactly, so it's gonna ask me to set this new workspace. I'm gonna select use default and launch. So every time you run the app, you're not gonna see this dialog anymore. Okay, so now STM32 Cube IDE is launching, and as soon as it opens up fully, we have successfully completed the STM32 Cube IDE installation. And again, if you happen to be someone who doesn't use STM or apparently doesn't like STM, and you decided to go with the normal Eclipse IDE, you're gonna get something quite similar to this app with just some features not available, but pretty much you'll be able to complete this series. So now they're asking me to send some I think stats data or error codes. I'm just going to say no thanks. And so just close this information center, and it's going to bring up the C++ window, and you're going to get a new STM32 Cube IDE. So this marks the end of this installation for STM32 Cube IDE. Now we're going to install our second required software for this series, and that's MinGW. So I already got the page open. So this is the MinGW minimalist GNU for Windows. So basically what this one does is that it's going to allow us to build and run our C code directly on PC without the need to have any target device. So that's what this software is basically for. Okay, so you want to click on download. I'm gonna provide this direct link down in the description of the video, and download should start in any second. There we go. It already downloaded it. It was very quick. Now click on this executable, and this is gonna bring up this dialog. So click on install. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can set this up fully and how can you go ahead and download all the required toolchain components for our series. So the directory is called MinGW. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to continue. And now this one is going to download. It's going to take, as far as I can remember, this might actually take a bit longer. I'm not too sure. Let's just wait a bit, and if it happened to take very long, I'm just gonna pause the video and then continue when it finishes. So I'm just gonna pause the video and I'm gonna see you when this finishes installation. The installation is now complete. I'm gonna click on continue, and this brought up this application. On here, we need to select multiple components to download our C toolchain. So that's basically for downloading the C compiler that will enable us to build, run, and debug our C code fully on PC and without the need for an external hardware. Okay, so I'm just going to download the MinGW 32 base. If you look at the description of this component, this one provides the GCC includes the C compiler linker and the other binary tools required. So you can also go ahead and download the C++ if you're interested, but because this series is going to be fully based on C programming, I'm only going to install this tool. And you do that by marking this and right click on installation and click on apply changes. And now when you click on apply, it's going to install this software component. I can't remember exactly how long this will take, but I assume it's going to be really quick. So I'm just going to wait until this one completely finishes, and we're going to continue and do the next bit. The GNU toolchain installation is now complete, so I'm going to click on close. And now we need to add the path of the MinGW to our system path. And in order to do this, I'm just going to close this application. I don't need it anymore. It has already installed the MinGW 32 base. So I'm going to close it and also make sure that the Cube IDE is closed as well for it to update its internal toolchain list and include the recently installed MinGW. So close the IDE as well. In order to edit the system variable safely, go to Advanced System Settings. So click on this window, View Advanced System Settings, and now click on Environment Variables. And now this should allow us to change and edit the path variable. So click on Edit, and now I think I previously had MinGW added, so that was the old one, and I've already uninstalled this. So I want to delete it, and I need to add a new one for my newly installed MinGW. And for that, you need to go to the include the path as C MinGW, I think, something like that. Let me just verify with the file system and then a binary. It should look something like that. I'd like to verify by navigating to my C, and I should be able to see MinGW. So this MinGW both in uppercase, so this one should be an uppercase W with a path to the binary folder, and that's it. So now click OK, and now this should now add the MinGW toolchain to the system variables, and therefore our Cube IDE now shall be able to see the MinGW toolchain. So click OK now, and also close the advanced settings properties, and now we're ready to open Cube IDE. So now at this step, we are going to set up a basic C project with the installed toolchain. We're going to just write a very simple hello world program just to make sure that our compiler and our IDE are working together. This one will set up the environment and the C compiler for the next tutorial, for the next videos in the tutorial where we're going to do actual coding. Okay, so the first thing you need to do here is that you need to navigate to File, click on New, and C or C++ project. And that's going to bring up this dialog. Simply click on C Managed Build and click on Next. And now select the location of your project and give the project a name. And just happily just select the C style I'm going to name the project C Styles and use the default location. All right, and it's automatically going to create a folder for us. Okay, so we've done that correctly. Now we need to select the project type. We're going to set the project type to empty. And now that's the fun part. Now we can see MCU ARM toolchain, which is the STM32 specific target compiler, and the MinGW. If we haven't done the previous step of installing the MinGW minimalist toolchain, we won't be able to see this option. So the fact that now we can see this option indicates that we have correctly installed MinGW. So click on this option and go next. So we've got debug and release options. Fine, I'm going to go with that. In fact, I don't need the release or things like that. Just going to go with the debug and click finish. And this one should create an empty project where we can go and write a simple Hello World program. So here we go. We can see a fully empty project. The first thing I'd like to do here is that I'd like to create a new source file. I'm going to call it main.c, and that's obviously for writing our main application. Okay, so I'm going to write a very simple main program here. So that's going to be I'm going to include the standard IO library because I'd like to use printf. And I'm going to create my main function. So that's int main with a void parameter. And at the end, we need to return the function. So I'm going to return 0. I just would like to print a test message. So hello world, perhaps. And I'm going to do a new line as well, just to make it very readable on the terminal. If you've done something like this, it's gonna, when you run the executable, it's gonna close immediately. So I'm gonna add a get character to this one would force the terminal to pause and wait for a user input in the keyboard before it closes. So this way we'll be able to see the hello world printed. This is the simple program. So I'm gonna go ahead and build. So I'm gonna save this and I'm gonna hit the hammer icon to build the project. Okay, I'm just gonna wait. Here we go. So that built really incredibly quickly because we haven't got much source files to compile. So this done it in about 3.5 seconds. So now let's have a look at the location of my project, and I should be able to see in debug folder an executable that I can run and see the hello world printed right there. So open the debug folder and I can already see an executable. Let's try to open it. And sure enough, we can see the hello world. So this now tells me that we have correctly set up Cube IDE and we have set up the MinGW correctly as well. And now we're ready to move on to the next part of the tutorial series. Okay, now there's one final thing that I'd like to do here to complete the project setup, and that's to change the language dialect, something called language dialect, to use C99. So that's about the C language releases and C language standard. So for that, go to the project properties, and we're going to navigate to C++ build, and want to go to settings. So click on settings and go to tool settings. For that, we want to search for dialect. So here we go, that's it, dialect. And the language standard that I would like to use, this is a very reliable release and very friendly with embedded systems. It's the C99. So click on the C99, click apply, apply and close. Okay, just gonna click OK and apply and close. So now let me build again. Now it built successfully as well. Let's have a look at our executable. Perfect. So still prints hello world. So We now have set up all those correctly, and this marks the end of this video. Thank you for watching.